Huge and horrible wildfires have been raging in California, but there's something very strange about these fires. Before I start this video, I'd like to say thank you for subscribing and don't forget to bell me, and thank you for your support on Patreon. So okay, there are these huge wildfires raging in California, destroying huge areas, including a lot of houses, sometimes even entire communities, burnt to the ground. And sadly, many people have lost their lives. In fact, it's so bad that people are wondering, where are they supposed to rebuild these homes? Now, the thing is, there's something very weird about this fire, weird about the way it's burning things down. As many people have noticed, it seems like the fire is selective, almost surgical. You'll see these areas where one house is burnt down next to a house that's untouched. And more strangely, in a lot of the photos, the trees surrounding the houses seem to be fine. Another thing that's strange is you may come across these photos of burnt out cars lined up along the side of the highway next to green trees that are untouched. In fact, the way the fire has attacked homes and cars and communities has been so strange that some are calling it the most selective forest fire in history. Naturally, people are wondering, how could this happen? And some people are thinking that maybe it's not an accident. Maybe it was intentional. Now, when I research something, I like to consider all sides of the issue. I like to hear what everyone has to say. So I headed over to metabunk.org to see how they were going to debunk the idea that somebody was doing this on purpose. They say that the reason trees don't burn, but houses do, is that the houses are made of dry wood, but the trees are green, so they're, fireproof? Usually when it's a forest fire, I thought that trees do burn, and that's how the fire ends up going to the houses in the first place. I mean, we're not talking about sections where there's a lot of fire and then sections where there are a lot of green trees that maybe escape the fire. We're talking about pictures like this, where how does this even happen? Where did the fire even come from? You don't even see an entry point for the fire to get to the houses. What, did it just suddenly light up across the pavement where there's nothing to burn? Because it didn't burn the trees behind the house and it didn't burn the trees in front of the house. So you really have to wonder, how did it even get to the house? Well, one possible explanation, which many people are speculating on these days, is that this is not a natural fire, but this destruction is a result of a directed energy weapon. I'll show you a video of, well, I'll give you the link to a video of what a directed energy weapon can do. It can come out of the sky like a bolt of lightning and aim energy directly at a structure such as a house and set it ablaze. You would think, okay, maybe this could be used in a war zone, but why would it be used in California? That's the strange thing. You have to consider what would be the motive. So of course there are a few people out there who have some theories about what the motive could be. There's this woman, Deborah Tavares, shown here in a meeting with Sonoma County Board Supervisors, disclosing that the Northern California fires are caused by directed energy weapons, and she ties these fires to the Rothschild family. Well, I mean, if you're going to blame somebody, usually you start with the Rothschilds. And if that doesn't work out, you can always blame George Soros. What's weird about this video, planned to burn up Northern California, was from February 28th, 2018. So how did she know? She claims a download was intercepted from Pacific Gas and Electric, which contained documents detailing their plans to use directed energy weapons on Sonoma, California. Well, that's what she says, but it's not like the documents are out there in internet land for us to just peruse and check. The only reference I could find to them was from chemtrailplanet.com, where they're discussing directed energy weapons. And the people who created this website are of the mind that a lot of these fires are created by DEWs, not only in California though, but all around the world, including places like Portugal, which is a bit weird. Because why would Pacific Gas and Electric want to destroy Portugal? There has to be a motive. What could it be? Well, I came across this on Facebook. John Laws had put together this graphic showing that the California wildfires line up exactly in the same path as the California high-speed rail system. So here you have a map, and at the top is where the fires are, and below is the railway system. That's pretty weird. That would be, I guess that could be a motive. It's a bit extreme way to go about achieving your goals. I looked for the maps. Well, I figured it can't be that hard to find the maps because it has the icon of where it came from on the corner of the map. So I looked up these maps, and sure enough, California high-speed rail system potential phasing. There is a map of this. It's the same map. But what about the fires? Well, it's from Cal Fire. They have a website and they have all their maps on there. There are tons of maps out there of the California wildfires from this year and also previous years. And so here's the one from 2018. It is in California and it does go along the coast. It touches some of the areas on the rail system map, but I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. And it doesn't head out to Las Vegas at all. As far as I can tell, all these maps have in common with each other is the fact that they're both in California and roughly going down the coast. Nonetheless, that is something to keep in mind. It's possible that they want to take the land over for some reason to build infrastructure. I would actually think that, if anything, in my mind, there would be some motive to destroy habitable lands that are not large cities because of Agenda 21 and the Wildlands Project and the rewilding of America, and Agenda 21 trying to encourage people to get back into cities. So I mean, this is just a theory. I'm just throwing it out there. But if you were going to have a motive to burn a place down, which I'm not saying somebody did, but let's just say, if you wanted to get people concentrated into cities where you could control them, well, that would be a motive. Deborah Tavares believes that the fires are related, at least in some part, to trying to depopulate the area. And she has an article here saying that after the fire, they discovered Native American artifacts. And that now, because of this discovery, it's now an archaeological area and people cannot build homes on it. And so this proves that I guess it doesn't really prove anything exactly. So she believes that the fires were done intentionally so that they could then find a reason why people cannot build on that land. But whatever it is, to me the fire looks very strange. I know there have been fires all the way back in history, and fires sometimes do strange things, but this is really strange. This is not normal. Even if you look at the picture from Portugal, that hardly compares with this picture, which is from FEMA, showing houses just sort of completely annihilated with everything around them untouched.
So the recent California fires are very strange and suspect, to say the least. We have specific areas being burned, like energy was being directed at certain things. In drone footage of the aftermath, we see houses completely obliterated and turned to ash while the surrounding landscapes and trees are totally fine. Here is a clip courtesy of Serbian Conspiracy. I'll put a link in the description. You'll notice here that stores and restaurants are wiped out while other things are still in perfect shape. Other buildings are fine, trees are untouched, but specific structures are just devastated. You gotta ask yourself, what's up with that? How did the fires get to these certain buildings but the surrounding areas, including the parking lot, look normal? Is this the result of direct energy weapons? Ranged weapons that inflict damage on a target by emitting highly focused energy? The answer is most likely yes. But in reality, these direct energy weapons are admitted to be real and are documented.
This is not a carbon fire. This is the only fire in the whole wide world that's considered a forest fire where the forest did not burn. The forest didn't burn here. All the glass melted. All the structural materials that used to be a house have disappeared. They have disappeared. You have a couple of bent poles here, a couple of poles that are bent, but you have absolutely no materials. The houses have not fallen. The houses have disappeared. The materials of these contents of these houses are gone. Let's listen to what they have to say here. She's going to talk a little bit about it. Well, first, let's go here. I want to show you where these fires are. Because if you're like me, you didn't know that there were 14 separate fires. How did 14 separate fires start over such a wide area? You guys, this isn't normal. This is not how it works. These homes didn't fall. These homes didn't burn. These homes disappeared. There's nothing left. There's not even a toilet bowl or a bathtub. This is one of the cars or trucks or something that was in this fire, and you'll notice that the glass here, which has a melting point of between 2,600 and 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? We're talking forge, foundry, furnace temperatures to melt this glass. Glass does not melt on its own, guys. Open air fires do not create this kind of complete combustion of the materials, all right?
The fact is, we are dealing with microwave weapon technology. How else would this tree catch on fire from the inside?
A haunting but mesmerizing scene from the wildfires in Sonoma County. A man came across this tree burning from the inside out. Matthew McDermott was driving around looking for escape routes as multiple fires closed in on the area he was in. The tree appears to be hollowed out by embers and flames.
Right? You could look this up. This is all over the news. Tree on fire from the inside. The only time that happens is when trees are struck by lightning, which in itself is a direct energy, right? This whole thing is all messed up.
Now, when I look at the drone footage from Malibu, California, it immediately raised my eyebrow, and it should raise your eyebrow as well, because this fire seems to be the most selective fire in the history of all fires. I have never seen a fire select and choose certain houses to burn down to the ground the way this fire picks and chooses. This fire will burn a house completely to the ground and leave all the trees in the front yard and the backyard completely untouched. This fire will pick and choose one house in the middle of two houses and burn one down to the ground, meanwhile leaving the house on the left and the right completely untouched. Why, take a look at this image. The house on the left, untouched. The house on the right, untouched. The trees in the front yard and the backyard, untouched. However, the house directly in the middle, scorched to the ground. So somehow this fire chose to scorch the entire house to the ground while leaving all the trees around the house in the front yard and the backyard completely untouched, and the house to the left and the right completely untouched. Like I said, this fire picks and chooses which house it wants to scorch. And it doesn't just halfway scorch a house. Oh no. If it wants to take your house, it will burn every inch of your house to the ground. Meanwhile, the lucky neighbors just a few feet away, well, they just happen to luck out and their house is completely fine. Does this seem natural to you folks? That one house scorches completely to the ground, there's nothing left. And then the neighbor's house is completely fine, and all of the trees are still standing around the house. We're seeing this more and more whenever these quote-unquote wildfires pop up. So is this a new characteristic of wildfires? We must ask ourselves, what's really going on here? Now, some speculate these are direct energy weapon attacks. And by the looks of it, I can't argue that. In my opinion, this does look quite a bit like some sort of direct energy weapon attack. So the question becomes, why? Why would the government or somebody be shooting direct energy weapons at these houses? Well, we're left to speculate. I can't say why it's happening. All I can say is it seems to be happening. So we're left to speculate. Is the United States so far in debt that we are now letting China come collect on our debt? Some are speculating that China owns so much of the United States debt that this is their way of coming to collect. They demolish the houses and the Chinese, I guess, will be given this land or will take over this land. I don't know. Others are even speculating that these houses are being burnt down to the ground to make way for the new California bullet train. So when we ask the question of why is this occurring, all we can do is speculate. But when we look at the evidence presented to us, it indeed appears that there's something sinister going on, such as direct energy weapons being used in arson attacks against the public.
Then there's the odd behavior of the firefighting crews. Tanker trucks and firefighting crews waiting to help. Bulldozers standing by, told to stand down. An entire fleet of large tanker jets, most of them never been used ones. Terrible communication to the residents, too. Many of them not getting any evacuation warning at all, either having to find out from friends and family on Facebook, or seeing flames in their backyard and having to run for their lives at the last minute.
A neighbor had knocked on Taft's door the morning of the fire, urging them to leave. Christina started packing, but says her mother, 66-year-old Victoria Taft, who was partially blind, refused to go. She hadn't heard an evacuation order from officials, so she wanted to stay put. The two got into a fight, and as the sky darkened and ash rained down, Christina panicked and left.
Look at the fire, folks. Straight line fires. Lasers. Can you say directed energy weapons?
Like the fire only goes in like one straight perfect line.
See that very defined line right there? That's not a wildfire.
I want you to look at what normally remains standing after house fires. This is the kind of stuff we should see. And then the rubble for where everything fell down. It's one thing if the building burns and then all the crap collapses. That makes sense. This makes sense. See, this makes sense. Because everything doesn't come to a complete, absolute, perfect 100% burn. These structures are, even though they're bent and charred, and even if this fell over, you would still have all this rubble of black crap, see?
You said that your outbuildings and your house and the houses around you all started to burn at once.
I know that all my stuff started to burn at once, and then my neighbor right across the street, dozens of fires sprang up all around me and below me without, they're far in front of the fire line without any falling burning embers.
Completely ignored by the mainstream media, the anomalous nature of this fire is being reported on by only a few independent journalists. Recently, Shelley Lewis from Supposedly Shelley interviewed two California firemen about the strange anomalies they have been seeing firsthand in Paradise. In the trailer park, the steel frame foundations, only a foot off the ground, were all completely warped, bent, and mangled. Every car and truck was completely torched. Every single rubber tire was burned into oblivion, and all that remained was the steel belt system from within. The temperatures were hot enough to melt aluminum. They were hot enough to melt glass. And they were hot enough to decimate every single last thing inside the home, which makes these fires at least 3 times hotter than your average house fire. And yet some things were inexplicably untouched by the super intense heat. Pristine carports with torched automobiles beneath them, next to homes completely burned to ash. Plastic trash cans untouched. The firemen observed that plastics attached to metal completely melted, while plastics by themselves seemed to somehow survive what must have been extraordinary heat. They found an isolated, unattached electrical generator that was completely burned out, like the cars, but the surrounding area was untouched. The mountains surrounding the Paradise fires are riddled with anomalous scars, as if a laser beam scorched swaths of forest while leaving the rest untouched. It is indeed a terribly sordid mystery, and nothing comes but silence from official sources. My first video report on this subject, entitled "The California Wildfires and Agenda 21, was deleted from my channel by YouTube. They wrote me that, upon review, we've determined that it violates our guidelines. In that video, we pointed out how these strange fires are all in the same areas the United Nations Agenda 21 has proposed to be off limits to human use. For newswars.com, this is Greg Reese.
Oh, fuck! Yeah, there's hella fucking cars over there, dude.
Hey folks, welcome to another video from plaintruth.info. Here's more proof positive blue laser lights, which people are reporting. We've got now at least 3 separate cell phone smart cameras identifying blue lasers on video, 1 from a helicopter and 2 from handheld cameras, as you can see right here. This is proof positive. We're going to take this to the fire departments. We're meeting with fire people now. They know something was wrong, and they've seen the videos and all the directed energy comments, and they want to learn more. So we're taking this to them. You can take this video as well. We also have the Santa Rosa Planning Department papers back from 2016. The exact roadmap where the fires hit in the Santa Rosa area matched the planning rezoning for Agenda 21. Stack 'em and pack 'em, green design, walking, no fireplaces kind of communities with density increases over 100%, planned on October 7th, 2 days before the fires. We have city council members and now the Sonoma Media Design Group, or Sonoma Media Group and the Sonoma Design Group. The Sonoma Design Group is the laser weapon companies, organizations, and the Sonoma Media investments we'll get into that own the newspapers around here, with Democratic lobbyist connections and all sorts of nefarious types involved. So we'll get into that in the next video, but I want to get this laser out, folks. This is what's the smoking gun, the smoking laser. Here it is right here. So proof positive. Let's spread the word, get it around, and let's stop this madness by education. First, it always starts with education. So please share. Thank you.
Top story, Santa Barbara. 10,000 acres of wooded residential land were scorched in an instant when a laser cannon aboard the Strategic Defense Peace Platform misfired today during routine startup tests. Casey?
Yes, it was a day of mourning for the families of 113 people known dead at this hour. Among them, 2 former United States presidents who had retired in the Santa Barbara area. A day of mourning for a country.
So I've been collecting comments from people, from readers, putting in what they saw in the area and documenting it, and we'll be presenting this to the fire departments and appropriate agencies. But let me just show you this list, and I just highlighted the word blue, and you can see all the blue flashes, blue laser light, really bright blue, as you'll see in a minute from this Take a Walk. He actually filmed the flashes, and we have other people doing the same. But here, blue flashes, blue lasers, nothing I've ever seen before. And it goes down. And in Potter Valley, I saw blue streaks like flares. I live in Santa Rosa, west of 3rd, and I saw blue light. I live in Santa Rosa, Indian Valley. I saw blue lightning. And it continues on. I have pages and pages of this, folks. And Sue Nami says, sacrifice all right. My cousin in Miami saw the blue lights coming down from the sky as well, right in the thick of it. I was speaking with her when she saw them. Firefighters say that when you explained about the aluminum from chemtrails. All right, here's a chart from the San Francisco Chronicle of the wind. And you can see that there was no wind. I was here this day in the Santa Rosa area. We got evacuated twice. And all of a sudden, about 10 o'clock, the wind started swirling. But before that, in my comments, was there was no wind. The storm came out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, it gusts up to 80 miles an hour. And then within 2-3 hours, it was completely back to normal again. Nothing normal. Let's take a look again at the Madeira fire last year caught in Portugal. And look at the vortex, folks. Look at the spinning winds that create the vortex energy to create the kinetic energy for the plasma weapon beam to focus its energy, directed energy, electromagnetic pulsing energy. But look at the vortex. Look at the swirling winds, which everybody here felt and everybody here commented about. And at night they turn into blue flashes. That's what we all saw. This was genocide. This was murder. This was an attack on U.S. soil. We need to wake up, folks. We need to wake up right now. And here we see the comments from Take a Walk talking about the blue flashes that they recorded on their camera here, which will be coming up here in a second. But again, this was coming from above. These were directed energy weapons. They were torching and murdering people in their homes, fried in their homes. The body count, we will not know the true body count ever. They will never give it to us. But there's many, many people that perished in their homes, just like in the Hurricane Harvey. The floods came in the middle of the night. Both started about 1-2 a.m. They didn't have a chance. So here, Take a Walk has the moon, and you'll see the blue, the flash. There it is. See the flash? There it was. This is another cell phone recorded as well. There's another beam right there from a cell phone recorded. Prima facie evidence, folks. Here it is.
Some cars were flipped over. By October 31st, the Tubbs fire had destroyed 5,643 buildings. PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric. PG&E was found responsible for 16 of the fires, over $10 billion in damages. All of this while producing $1 billion a year in profits for the Rothschild Investment Group. PG&E warned the public that the fires will not just continue, but will grow larger every season. They warned their investors that future liability will force PG&E into bankruptcy. In June, utility officials told state lawmakers that they needed protection to survive the coming fire season. And on August 31st, California state legislature passed a utility bailout bill to protect PG&E, its shareholders, and Rothschild Investment. At sunrise on Thursday, November 8th, the Camp Fire wildfire began in California. It has all the same anomalies as the Tubbs fire and is already twice as devastating. Many people are asking the same question. Is this an attack?
Okay, so the next question would be, well, why? Why would they do that? Well, could be lots of reasons, but one reason the deep state or the shadow government or the power elite might be doing this is to divert our attention. It's a psyops, psychological operation, to distract us. As a major distraction, it refocuses our attention from all this that's going down in Hollywood with the super rich power elite, the Hillary Clinton, the dossier, the Mueller investigation, all of this stuff, the FISA information is starting to come out, and the propaganda machine of the deep state will do anything they can to direct our attentions to somewhere else. And I believe what they want to do, they're desperate, and what they want to do is keep the American people from understanding what's really going on in government and in the world as regards how the satanic deep state, shadow government, super rich, power elite are manipulating the masses and controlling what we think and believe. So as we get closer to exposing this, Trump said publicly that he's going after the deep state. He's going after the human traffickers, the child trafficking. He's going after these people. And he is, and it's starting to come out with the whole Pizzagate thing, with the whole Epstein Island thing. And there's so much more. The corruption is being exposed. And the Hollywood pedophilia thing, it's starting to come out more and more. And these criminals, the deep state, shadow government criminals, are getting more and more desperate. And so they're using their propaganda machinery, the media, to influence what the American people think and believe, so that the American people will not get on board with those people who are investigating and trying to bring the corruption to the surface and prosecute those that are guilty of treason, child trafficking, and corruption, organized crime, and so much more. So one way they can do this, especially when the news is starting to come out about, why would somebody be looking at what the Judicial Watch is finding out about they're using the Freedom of Information Act to gain access to Peter Strzok and Lisa Page emails, which even Congress couldn't get. So the Judicial Watch people are using the system to get even more documentation, while at the same time those in Congress are working toward getting the unredacted and versions of these various documents from the Mueller investigation and the Clinton dossier thing, getting all this exposed in such a way that if the American people knew what that data was, they would know exactly how corrupt the people involved are. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. It would start leading to other criminal acts and other people involved, and it will lead very quickly to other millionaires and billionaires. And they're very organized, and they're very scared, and they're desperate. So my thoughts are, why would they not use directed energy weapons if they had access to that to start these various fires? And you really don't need a directed energy weapon to start a fire. You can just get some guy out there with a cigarette and throw it out on the dry ass fucking grass. But let's do it right, sort of thing. And so they're just peppering the entire country with wildfires. Too easy. And it will divert the attention of the American people by diverting news coverage onto these wildfires. And so the American people are now going, oh, wildfires, oh. And all the attention goes this way, while the news coverage that could be going on regarding the expose of the corruption in government and everywhere else, that news coverage doesn't happen. So they call these false flag operations. It's not that the news itself is false. It's that the really important stuff is not being covered because our attention is being distracted from the real issues that will make a difference. Because if you look at a California fire or a school shooting, as terrible as that is distracting us from taking down the deep state. That's distracting us from understanding who the real bad guys really are. So this morning I started looking into psyops and diverting attention and all that. And I'm finding these manuals, the psyops thing is a big thing. There's books and manuals on psychological operations and extensive training on how to be a specialist in psychological operations. And it covers all of it in such incredible detail. And then it kind of blends in with the mind control and mind manipulation. And that's deep and extensive. And when you think about how connected these super rich power elite are, and the various kinds of organizations they're in control of, or they have established, in the FBI, CIA, in government, think tanks, just so many places. You go, wow, they really know what they're doing. And I'm going, well, how could we possibly overcome something like that? Well, to keep it simple and optimistic is that there's a whole lot more of us than them. And all we need to do, first step, is know what they're doing and then how they're doing it. Know who they are, what they're doing, how they're doing it. And the biggest reason of all would be why. So who are they? And why are they doing what they're doing? And then how? When we discover all of this, and we look at it this way, and this is what I believe that Trump and Congress, the good guys in Congress, are doing. They're discovering, I think they already know what the bad guys are doing, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it. But how do you bring the public up to speed? And you have to do it legally, because about 50% of the American people, until recently, hopefully it's more than 50% of the American people right now, know what's going on. But there are such a large number of the American people who do not know that the bad guys are the bad guys, so therefore they have no reason to know what they're doing, how they're doing it, or why. So this expose of who the criminals are, the bad guys, the evil, the satanic followers, who they're doing, who are they, what are they doing, why are they doing it, and how are they doing it. I think our government, the good guys in our government, do know, and they're working very hard to bring the American people up to speed, while at the same time, the dark forces have control of the media. The super rich power elite have control of the American media. And it's very difficult to get the information out to people that are programmed, indoctrinated, trained in habit patterns of watching the news, mainstream news, for generations and generations here. If you just, it's real simple to connect the dots, the super rich power elite, who they are, what they're doing, how they interact and interconnect, and how they help each other and protect each other. And they've been involved in this for so long that they are able to protect themselves within the legal arena. They have their people in powerful positions and in government and law as assistant attorney generals in states, governors, senators, representatives, in all levels of politics and banking and education. Just, they're very well organized. So it becomes the job of the American people, yeah, the world really, but I'm just talking to the American people right now about this. It becomes our job, if we know what's going on, we've got to tell somebody. We've got to let people know what we know. Because if we don't, it's not going to turn out well for us. If we didn't know, if Hillary had gotten elected, all this that we know about the corruption in the Department of Justice and the FBI would not be known. And they would be, those corrupt individuals within these departments would still be protecting the criminality that is ongoing as organized crime by these crime syndicates, these super rich power elite, Khazarian mafia, Satanists, 13 bloodlines, New World Order, Illuminati, the Masons, the Masonics, the Jesuits. All of this organized evil on this planet would be protected and not being exposed by anyone with a real voice. And there's a real voice in Congress and in the White House. So we need more support from the American people, and to get that, they need to know what's going on. So how do we do that? You know, I try to make a great video, and it's getting overwhelming what's going on around here. And so I just do what I can and bring up a little point here and there.